Today there was an incident in Latvia. What we can see and conclude is that the most important thing is a decision-making speed, the speed of detection, the speed of communicating with the armed forces, the speed of communicating with NATO, and the speed of authorizing shooting down.
On camera, NATO forces shoot down another drone over Latvia in a French Baltic airspace scare. A French Rafale aircraft swings into action as a hostile aerial threat is intercepted over Latvia. A new drone panic grips a NATO nation as fears grow over threats approaching from Russia's direction. The Baltic is back on edge as another drone incident pulls NATO closer to the front line of regional tensions. A French Rafale aircraft shot down a drone over Latvia, officials said on June 8. Latvia alleged that the drone had entered its airspace from Russia, prompting a rapid response. The drone was reportedly downed during NATO's Baltic Air Policing mission. Latvian officials said the drone may have crossed over because of Russian electronic warfare, according to reports. The incident took place near Berzgale, roughly 30 kilometers from the border, reports said. Latvia issued an air threat alert and advised some residents to remain indoors. The alert was lifted after the drone was neutralized, Latvian officials said. No injuries or property damage were reported after the latest drone incident. A NATO official said the episode demonstrated the alliance's defensive readiness. Latvia's Prime Minister said it was very irrational to use expensive missiles to shoot down low-cost drones.
Today there was an incident in Latvia. What we can see and conclude is that the most important thing is a decision-making speed, the speed of detection, the speed of communicating with the armed forces, the speed of communicating with NATO, and the speed of authorizing shooting down. It is a very irrational way to shoot down drones or military fighter jet. The cost of missiles and all these costs are an irrational way to shoot down drones going forward. It is very good that we have such capabilities, and we are proving that these capabilities work in both Estonia and Latvia. But going forward, such a solution is not the right way to move forward. That is why Latvia is currently placing emphasis on the drone agreement. This is the major cooperation agreement with Ukraine, which is the only country in the world currently that has proven that it is capable of shooting down drones with the highest accuracy and technical capabilities. It is Ukraine, no one else.
Notably, reports said there has been a spike in such incidents, including a similar drone incursion last month. The Baltic Defense Initiative study has claimed that Russia could potentially force Lithuania into surrender within a period of just 90 days, presenting a highly controversial and scenario-based assessment of modern warfare dynamics. The report further suggests that Moscow may not even need to physically cross the border with ground troops in order to break Lithuania's resistance, instead relying on sustained long-range strikes and systemic disruption strategies. The think tank scenario also reportedly draws lessons from recent conflicts, including the Iran war and evolving drone strike patterns, using them as a reference point to model how future high-intensity hybrid warfare could unfold in Europe. The scenario warns that a coordinated use of missiles, drones, and sustained infrastructure attacks could, in theory, be sufficient to force a rapid capitulation by overwhelming a nation's ability to maintain basic state functions and continuity of governance. The report further models large-scale and repeated strikes on critical infrastructure, including power plants, major bridges, and central government systems, designed to simulate how quickly essential services could be disrupted under continuous pressure. The study also identifies what it describes as significant gaps in Lithuania's current defense posture, highlighting vulnerabilities in resilience, redundancy, and rapid recovery mechanisms that could be exposed during a high-intensity conflict scenario. It further warns that Lithuania could face a temporary leadership vacuum in the aftermath of major strikes, particularly if communication networks and command structures are severely degraded during the opening phase of an attack. The scenario additionally raises concerns that targeted strikes on top political leadership, including the President and the Speaker of Parliament, could create severe command confusion and delay critical decision-making during a national emergency. The Baltic Defense Initiative is also said to have developed more than 200 separate defense proposals for Lithuania, aimed at strengthening resilience, hardening infrastructure, and improving continuity of governance under crisis conditions. Finally, the report warns that global geopolitical distractions, including the United States being preoccupied with an Iran-related conflict, could leave the Baltic region comparatively more exposed in a moment of heightened strategic vulnerability. The Baltic Defense Initiative study provides the following scenarios. First, Russia could potentially bring Lithuania to its knees in just 90 days, according to a controversial wargame scenario that has sparked intense debate among defense analysts and security experts. Second, the scenario suggests a future conflict where there are no traditional troop movements or ground invasions, but instead a sustained campaign of missiles, drones, and large-scale destruction aimed at overwhelming the country's ability to function. Third, it raises the alarming possibility that Russia could theoretically force a NATO member state into surrender without ever deploying a single soldier across its borders, relying entirely on standoff weapons and infrastructure collapse strategies. Fourth, the simulation further claims that a massive wave of around 170,000 drones could be used in repeated strikes designed to systematically cripple the capital, effectively flattening key urban systems and pushing the state toward total operational breakdown. The Baltic Defense Initiative has stated that its scenario is based entirely on what it describes as verified and publicly documented weapon capabilities, using existing systems and known military technologies rather than speculative or fictional advancements. However, it is important to note that Hindustan Times cannot independently verify the details or assumptions contained within this think tank's conflict simulation. Estonian intelligence has assessed that Russia is not expected to launch a direct military attack on NATO territory within the next 2 years, based on its current understanding of force posture, strategic priorities, and ongoing regional risk calculations. Tensions have soared between Russia and NATO's leading power, the United States, over the presence and possible expansion of American troops in Eastern Europe. Moscow has warned that deploying additional US forces near Russia's borders would be unacceptable, framing such a move as a direct threat to its security. These remarks were delivered by Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova on May 28, giving them the weight of an official government position.
The prospect of relocating U.S. military bases and contingents, as we suspect, from Central and Eastern European countries considered less trustworthy to those considered more trustworthy by the United States, including Poland, literally within striking distance of our country's western borders, is unacceptable. This would not only inevitably necessitate the forced adoption of military technical measures necessary to ensure the security of the Russian Federation, but would also result in a significant escalation of tensions throughout Europe, especially given the increasingly provocative stance of the United States' European satellites toward the Russian Federation.
Zakharova also argued that reducing US military personnel in Europe would be a rational, justified, long overdue step towards lowering tensions. She claimed that pulling back American forces would help stabilize what she described as an imbalanced security situation created by NATO's actions. By contrast, she warned that deploying more troops would place them literally within striking distance of Russia's borders, increasing the risk of confrontation. Roughly 80,000 US soldiers are currently deployed across Europe, with around 10,000 stationed in Poland alone as part of NATO's forward posture. Poland shares a border with Russia's heavily militarized Kaliningrad exclave, making any troop buildup there especially sensitive. Russia's latest warning coincided with Trump unveiling plans to send an extra 5,000 American troops to Poland, a move Moscow sees as directly provocative. Despite political infighting, NATO has been steadily ramping up its defenses, preparing for the possibility of a Russian attack somewhere along the alliance's eastern flank. A Danish intelligence report in 2025 warned that Russia could be in a position to attack parts of Europe within the next 5 years, further fueling alarm. However, Vladimir Putin has repeatedly insisted that Moscow has no intention of striking NATO, unless Russia itself is attacked first. Russian officials have long accused the West of reckless militarization, arguing that NATO is pushing forces and weapons too close to their borders. They often cite NATO's eastward expansion, right up to Russia's near abroad, as one of the underlying causes of the war in Ukraine.